What's up, y'all? Welcome to Straight to the Bag, the show that helps fighters secure financial freedom. I'm your host, Andrew Lee, and today we're going to be talking about your finances, what you need to know, ins and outs, and at the end, we're going to give y'all some actionable steps, so stay tuned. Today, I got a special guest, though, so go ahead, introduce yourself, tell them what you're all about.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me, and look forward to the conversation and sharing what I've seen and read myself. And so my name is Jahaan Wiley, and I'm in finance. I'm currently a commercial analyst, so I work with the middle market group here in Columbus, and we do work with businesses with 10 million and more in revenue. Also do I'm a real estate investor, so I own some real estate as well. And I've been able to navigate, my personal finance. I'm not perfect. I made a lot of mistakes along the way. And so, I had to reverse those mistakes. So, I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I know a little bit about personal finance as well. In my role before this role, I was a licensed banker in the retail space. So you would see me when you came into the branches, and I would talk about anything from consolidating your personal debt to mortgage to even investments, planning for retirement. So just have some experience in that side of things as well.
Okay, dope. So what would you say are some of your biggest successes in this space you're in now, in this finance space?
Good question. Starting off, I wasn't the greatest high school student. My GPA wasn't competitive at all. But then I turned that around and was able to graduate college with honors in finance, right?
Okay.
With a minor in accounting. So I would say that was kind of the kickoff to that success in the finance space, getting the kind of the theory behind finance, because college only teaches the theory. You kind of have to get into the market and to understand how to apply that knowledge. So, but it was a start because it was very helpful as I moved forward to understand what I was seeing.
Okay.
With that, I've been able to increase my W-2 income significantly over the years. And we can talk a little later, more in detail about that later. But, I think it's important to understand that, just because you have an entrepreneurial idea or you want to be, a passive investor, W-2 income is very important. Because without my W-2 income, I would not be able to do some of the things I'm doing outside of my career. So being, thoughtful in where your next career move and how that aligns with the overall picture is important. But increasing that income is ultimately important. I launched a mobile detail company using my personal truck that I thought about when I bought the truck. I was like, I really like the truck, but how else can I, leverage this purchase? So, I was like, I can sell cars and I can, pick up cars. And somehow me and my brother came up with the idea, like, man, we should do a mobile detail company. So we got a big old tank, filled it with water. We put together the power washer, and we had a couple deals with the dealerships pulling up to their site and just clean down their cars. So learned that I did not want to wash cars or detail cars for long. It's hard work, and I realized, and again, we won't get into this more in detail, but I wanted something more passive income than active income.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Because there's a lot of activity.
That's a lot of work.
But it was rewarding, showing up and having cars dirty and then turn around and they're, getting them clean was pretty cool. I purchased a duplex in the Near East Side. I brought $1.75 to closing.
That's wild.
Literally went to closing and wrote them a check for $1.75. And actually, they wrote me a check back for $1,000 because the property I bought, it had a tenant already in it. So I got their security deposit. So I gave them $1.75, and they gave me $1,000. I walked away with $1,000 from the closing table.
Oh yeah, we got to break that down later.
Yeah. So a lot of cool stuff. Let's see. Oh, and another thing with the duplex, I was able to get a tax abatement. So when my realtor, just a little sidebar for real estate investing, whatever your strategy is, just make sure that you have your realtor matches that strategy. The realtor I use, he is also an investor. So he was very helpful in kind of helping me navigate my first purchase. It wasn't the smoothest journey, and we're going to get into that. But just a sidebar there. He made me aware that the property was in a tax abatement area, opportunity zone.
Okay.
And so what that means is you're able to save on taxes, basically.
Right.
It won't get into much detail, but basically I'm going to save about $40,000 in taxes for the life of my loan.
Dang.
So huge, I would count that as a success. With the property, I'm lowering my taxable income on my W-2 income, so it's offsetting. So as my W-2 income is going up, the real estate is helping offset that tax obligation because you can, write off depreciation or write off a lot of stuff. So I pay less in taxes with my real estate purchase as well.
That's genius.
Yeah, I do a lot of thinking. So lastly, I got in some consumer debt. I had like $20,000 in consumer debt, and we can go into that story a little later. When you get that $20,000 credit card, you kind of can rack up some. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
but,
I bet.
I had a lot of fun, but so I got in $20,000 in debt. So I've erased that debt within 2 years, and then also increased my net worth by $100,000.
Okay. All right.
So,
man, okay, let's take it back. Let's go all the way back to grade school, because I'm really interested in how you went from not really understanding how to do well in school to graduating with honors in college. Like, I'm sure there's a lot going on in between that.
We could do a whole separate story on that. To try to keep it, just kind of to, finance and make it helpful for, the audience. Purpose. It was purpose.
Okay.
There was a lot of things that happened, and, there's a lot of signs that were given. I'm a spiritual person, so, God, did a lot of interventions. But, when it comes down to a purpose, I really didn't know what I wanted to do in grade school. Or I had an idea, and I thankfully learned that may not be the best route. Some signs, and again, just, understanding what I wanted out of life. So that would be the difference.
So how old were you when you started in like the finance space?
Man, I think, jokingly, elementary, elementary school. Funny story. I used to mix Kool-Aid and sugar, and sell it on the playground.
Wow.
Kool-Aid and sugar, different flavors.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think me and my sister was bored one day, and we were just mixing, playing around in the kitchen. And we just lick it off our hands, and it's like a pixie stick,
Yeah.
But we, I made them up in baggies, and I sold them in school. So I've been, around money for a long time, even in middle school, high school. It's always been like my Rich Intentions handle on Instagram was something that was done in high school very, very early.
Okay.
So it's always been kind of the focus.
Yeah.
But again, I think college would probably be when things changed a little bit. With being exposed to kind of a different level of wealth and seeing, okay, wait a minute, there's people out there, and to back up, I was a teller in college for Huntington. That was my first role in the kind of the banking industry.
Yeah.
And just kind of I learned more about personal finance from those experiences than any book that could teach me, because I was able to physically see people who would come in, with every, whole bunch of material stuff on, and I look at their account and see what it is. Then I would see people come in, Lee Wrangler jeans, your dad, shoes, and what they had in their account, and I was like, okay,
that is
I
wild.
think that was a shift in mindset, in that there's a difference between being rich and wealthy, right? So Rich Intentions was my high school thought, and then, understanding that, being wealthy, I think the difference is purpose. You know, rich is having a lot of money, and wealthy is really having some purpose behind it. You know,
Right.
I think Boosie is rich.
Right.
Jay-Z is wealthy, right?
Yeah.
You know, they're
like
doing
that.
stuff, that's bigger than them, impactful.
Right.
And that's when I was like, okay, so now, and I didn't catch that right away. It took me about a couple years after college to catch that, and we can get into that in a second as well.
All right, so okay, we got lots to dive into, but let's start with, like, just what was your lowest point? Just like, doesn't have to be about finances, doesn't have to be anything specific, but just you would say your lowest point.
Yeah, and I could have just kept talking because that was a great transition into that next thought. And that, so college, there was one goal, right? You go to school, get the best grades you can, and get a job. It's simple. I wake up and have that same goal. So once I graduated college, what do you do next, right? Like, you get into your career and you do well and you meet your goals, but I mean, what's next, right? Like, so for me, I've always had my foot on the pedal. I've always been a hustler. I've always been trying to chase the bag, you know what I mean? So for me, I was just going in circles, I was in neutral. And what had happened was, again, I got in $20,000 in debt. A part of that was, before the mobile detailing, I was buying and selling cars. But the cars I was selling, it was a hobby. I love old school cars. I love muscle cars. So I was buying cars, doing big changes to them. I was changing the engine, transmission, fun stuff, exciting stuff. I was just swiping my credit card because my thought was, okay, I got this personal debt, but I'm going to use it for my business, which is most a lot of entrepreneurs do. But the problem was I wasn't making money because it was a hobby. So I was making some poor decisions. And then some of the wins I did have, my personal habits were bad. I was doing a lot of partying. I was doing a lot of, at the time, again, I had that Silverado truck. I was everywhere in the Silverado truck. I was having a lot of fun. But, got $20,000 in debt. I put myself in a position to buy. So I ended my lease and I moved in with a friend of mine's. And so that was, another thing. I was sleep, in his basement. So I can position myself to buy, but still, in that moment, I was in my buddy's basement. And, what else? Oh, on top of that, my girl, after 9 years, walked out. I had some family, issues. My brother, cousin. It was a lot going on in that moment. So I'm at $20,000 in debt. Girlfriend walks away. I'm still trying to buy a property. I haven't done that. I'm struggling in my career because at the time I had my investment license, so I was expected to perform in the investment space. But I was the youngest investment banker there. And I remember I had a client tell me, he said, "Why would I invest with you and my money is older than you?" Right?
Wow.
And I felt that. I was like, you know what? You're right. You got a good point. And so, I was struggling across the board. So yeah, that would probably be the lowest moment for me.
What age
so
was
far.
this? This was after college?
College, so about 26, 27.
Okay. And you just graduated, right? This is
recently, yeah. It was about
graduated.
1 or 2 years out of college, yeah.
Okay, so you went from teller in college to banker. I'm assuming to personal banker.
Yep. Personal banker with the license designation, so I could do retirement planning and stuff like that. Yeah. Man,
so the debt. I mean, I kind of want to break that down. Like, how do you think that kind of happened? I mean, you're like a banker and you understand finances. I would say like at least more than average.
Yeah. So the big part of that again was the business piece. I convinced myself that I was making good business decisions. It's funny because my dad at the time was, he told me, and our ego sometimes don't want to accept things right away. But he was dead on. He said, Jahaan, this is a hobby. This is not a business. Business, you make money.
Mm-hmm.
Business, you make good business decisions. So, people who are out there thinking about starting a business, you do got to keep that in mind,
Mm-hmm.
and that just because you enjoy something or it's your hobby,
Mm-hmm.
that's different from it being a successful business venture.
Yeah. Let that one marinate, because that's deep.
Yeah.
And I've even made that mistake.
Yep.
And recovering through it. So yeah, I wouldn't overlook that one. That one's especially nowadays with everyone's like do what you love energy.
Right.
and
Right.
all that. So how did you get out of that? What was the next few years like how did you some actionable steps?
Good question. I think the biggest piece of that is really looking in the mirror and having a conversation with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's uncomfortable. It's really
Oh, yeah, I
uncomfortable.
believe it.
Like an
Believe it.
honest conversation, not the BS conversation to make you feel good conversation,
Mm-hmm.
but like for real, like what's going on here? Again, my girl, at the time walked away after 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to do a lot of conversations with myself to say, okay, at first it was, what she did, what, it was a one angle view of, what happened.
Mm-hmm.
But then I had to say, you know what, like I did, so one of my OG, one of the things he always said was, a loss stays a loss if you don't learn from it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I looked at it. I was like, okay, it's done. The loss has happened. I'm a 20K in debt. I'm having these financial issues. I'm struggling here. This is the loss. I'm losing here. So now how can I learn from this? How can I get better? So I improved myself first. Before
Okay.
I could do anything from a business perspective, I had to, kind of dig in internally and say, what are some of the things you're struggling with that you need to fix? So accountability. I started with accountability of where are you making mistakes? And with that, I kind of started to think about what I wanted life to look like, because I haven't had that thought. Like when I went into college, like what I was, I remember I Googled like what was the highest paying job, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was technology. I said, well, that don't make sense. So then the next one was, finance, accounting, and I said, okay, I've been around money. I could that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. I didn't have a picture of where I wanted to live, if I wanted to have kids, like. So, graduating college and kind of, going in circles, I finally, what really changed was after the accountability piece, I really sat down and said, okay, what do I want life to look like?
Yeah.
And a mentor at the time, he gave me a TED Talk video, work-life balance. And the guy said, hey, audience, I want you to write down your ideal day. I'm talking about when you wake up to when you go to sleep, right?
Okay.
What time are you waking up? What are you doing? What are you eating?
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to work? How many hours are you working? And when I did that for myself, I said, man, like I can really, and it's powerful to believe that you can make life what you want it. And when you think about it, that should be the only thing that matters. Because
100%.
We expire at some point.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So why not, while we're here,
Mm-hmm.
do the things that make us happy? You know what I mean? Like, so I stopped thinking about so much the material things, but like more so, how do I want to spend my time? And so speaking of time, that's when I started to think about, okay, to get that time, I have to find something that I can make a lot of money in a short period of time, right?
Right.
So, that's when I start thinking about passive income. Like that, it makes sense because I want to be making money when I'm not actively making money.
Right.
I want to instead go, jump into my 92 Camaro IROC with the T-tops and go for coffee, right? That's what I want to do. Like, I want to travel. I want to, and to do that, you have to put in work to do that. And I start planning, right? I started with a vision board.
Okay.
So I took that ideal day and I put a vision board of the things that were in that day, like when I thought about the day and I pictured certain things, I went on Pinterest. I got a Pinterest account, so I went on Pinterest and I Googled the items and it popped up and I made a vision board, and then from the vision board I made goals, of where I wanted to be by a certain period of time. Then I looked at it and I said, okay, what do I need to do to get here? And then so I made more goals. I made smaller goals. I need to get out of debt. I can't do anything with this debt. Yeah. Consumer debt. That's the worst debt you can have. Is consumer debt. It's silly. So I gave up my truck. I turned my lease back in. I budgeted. Wow, can you believe that? I made a budget and said, you know what, I'm going to make some sacrifices on how I move. And so I made a budget. I did that. I made a career decision. I wasn't sure where I wanted to go, if I wanted to go into the investment space or if I wanted to go into business. Those are the two areas that I enjoyed. Okay. So I thought about long term what I wanted life to look like, and I said, what's going to give me that ability? So it was clear. I struggled for 1 or 2 years trying to make that decision, and within a week it was clear. I wanted to go to the business route. So I made a move to commercial underwriting. Before I got into the space, I was doing commercial underwriting. Okay. So I was like, when you send a loan request in, I was the person that took it and did the write-up. Put together the charts and put everything down, and so did that. Made some real estate goals. One thing about real estate is you can there's so many strategies with real estate, and you have to know your purpose and your why before you get into it, because you can get distracted. It took me a while to buy my first property because I was distracted. You can flip, you can wholesale, you can do Airbnb. There's so many things you can do with real estate, and it wasn't until I knew what I wanted life to look like to say, okay, I want something passive. I don't want to continue to do Airbnb where I got to keep doing a new person every day. Right. I don't want to flip because I understand finance and that, cash depreciates in value because of inflation. So I don't want to do that either. Either you can get money, but okay, I'm going to do income properties. That was my thing. Okay. So I said, I set some goals as far as I want to buy my first duplex. And then, I want to continue to build on that. So that's kind of what was the change.
All right. So lowest low, 20K in debt, living in basement. Then girl walked out your life. Now we're building up some momentum. We're doing a vision board. We're being real with ourselves. Yep. Understanding real estate, not just having a desire to do it.
Facts.
So where did that take you next?
Man, that's a great summary. Because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be who I am today. Right. And so I'm thankful for those experiences. Certainly not at the time, but now looking back, I can say, you know what, I'm glad that things happened the way it did. Because now I'm at a place where I'm truly happy. I'm truly in a place where I understand what wealth looks like. Okay. I'm truly in a place where, I have a plan and a vision, so no longer am I spinning in circles. I'm getting stuff done. The stuff that means a lot to me. One of the things I said I was going to make sure I do when I did the vision board, in the goal setting and everything, was I'm going to enjoy each stage of the journey, right? Because what a life would be if you only enjoy the end part of the journey, right? That's why Nipsey Hussle was so hard in that the marathon, right? He was running the race. He was talking the same stuff when he was on the corner, and the victory lap, was the end. But like the marathon is in between, and so you have to fall in love with that. So my highest high is where I am now. Like that's every dope. Step is the highest high because, looking back, it's his. You just gotta be in the moment. So I have my duplex. I'm cash flowing on my duplex. I'm in a great career, not just for the money, but I'm learning something every day. I'm learning how to structure middle market deals, and I know how to look at risk, credit risk. I know how to mitigate it, and I know how to structure a deal to get it done. Yeah. I mean, when you talk about career capital, shout out to Kyle Newport, career capital, where, you're building something beyond just your title, you're doing something and becoming valuable to the marketplace. So, beyond just what I'm being paid, I'm becoming valuable. I found someone that I plan to spend the rest of my life with, who's also committed to living the same life that I envision, right? So we're on the same path, what we want life to look like. We're both committed. She's made some sacrifices. She's, I have another joint venture with her that, I'm looking forward to announcing soon. You know, we just welcomed a new baby boy, my first baby boy.
Congrats.
Baby Ja, you know, so, you know, the legacy piece of it is there. I can't wait to kind of show him some of the things I'm talking to you.
Oh, yeah,
I know he's probably going to be like, Dad, I'm tired of hearing it. I'm tired of hearing it. But, you know, it's a lot of exciting stuff right now.
Man, that's awesome.
You know, I'm healthy. I was working out with you for a little bit. I need to get back in there, but I'm feeling good. You know, mentally, emotionally, and physically. I'm in a good space, and you know, man, it's just, you know, good stuff.
Man, that's awesome to hear, bro. So, I guess let's take it back. Take it back to, where'd you say you started working in college?
Huntington. I was a teller at Huntington.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You're good. So Huntington, then you you also became a banker at Huntington.
Key Bank. So I can jump. That's why I was going to jump into that. So I was a teller at Huntington while I was studying finance, but I also worked at the financial trade office too. You know, quick story. You know, when I took my first trip up to Toledo, it was me and my mom, and I was short, actually. My financial package wasn't enough to go to Toledo. And my mom secretly, I feel, didn't want me to leave either, right? So I went up there, and I talked to the gentleman, and was like, hey, this is what I have. What's the next step? He was like, you short, buddy. You might want to think about some other things. And, you know, my mom was supportive in the way she know how, and she was like, you know, Columbus State. You know, start with Columbus State. And I was the one that did most of everything as far as I did my own FAFSA for my mom. I understood. I did the application where, you know, most kids probably, you know, the parent took care of it. I did it. So then I went back up to the lady. I went to a different person. I was like, there has to be something we're missing here, you know? And luckily, again, God, she asked a couple additional questions. And so the way it works, not trying to get into too much detail, but I think it's helpful, is like when you do your FAFSA, you get an EFC. It's called an Estimated Family Contribution. Basically, it says what your family can contribute to your college. So the higher the EFC, the lower the Pell Grant. The Pell Grant is a grant that helps kids that don't necessarily may have the means to get to college. So my EFC was high because my mom made a decent amount of money, but, you know, they didn't know about the bills too she had. So what the lady did was say, okay, what else you got going on? Well, my mom was in school. So with my mom being in school, it allowed to decrease the EFC. So therefore increasing my Pell Grant. So that got done. But they were so impressed that I was the one having the conversation that they asked me to come work for them. There's like, you know, another thing we can do, the director was overhearing a conversation. And she was like, you know, do you got work study? I was like, yeah, I got work study. She said, are you interested in a job? Literally had a conversation about a job on that spot. So I was able to, again, career capital. I was able to be in a place where I was looking at people's, you know, tax returns, like the parents of the students, looking at their tax returns. I was helping kids fill out FAFSA. I basically understood how to finance college.
So you help break that down for all these college students. Wow, and you're a brand new college student.
Exactly.
So you said it was called an EFC?
Yep.
EFC, how do they determine that? Through income? Through
income,
your tax
mainly.
returns?
Yep. Income. Yep, income. Independence. There's some other factors. It's been a minute, but mainly income and how many dependents you have.
Okay. And for like any kids looking to get in college right now or kind of in that time of their life, what are some tips besides that you have?
That's a really good question because now I have a son. I think about it. Do I really want to push him to say college is you have to go to college?
Right.
And I'm not. I'm not going to do it because of how expensive college is. You know, politicians, politics. I hate it, but you know, it's something as I build wealth, it's hard to ignore. So the politicians want to talk about student debt, but it's funny that the conversation isn't about how much college has increased. The cost of college has increased. So for me, I don't see the value And my son, if I got the money at that time, I'll pay for it. Yeah, sure, do it. But going into debt, to learn something that I can teach him,
right,
through the businesses that I own and the stuff that I'm doing and the people who I know. I don't, I'm in real estate. What if he went and got his, become an electrician, a plumber, or a trade school? So that so the advice I would give is make it make sense.
Okay.
Make it make sense. I used to get in a little bit of trouble because I was an orientation leader where the kids, the incoming freshmen would come in and I would talk to them. I'd be like, man, what you going to study? And they would say stuff that I would dig deeper on, like social worker, for example. And I don't want to by any means discredit any profession. Let's make sure that's clear.
Yeah.
But you have to be realistic of where that place you financially. If you so I had a conversation with one kid. I said, so why? He said, well, I want to help people and change people. You do know you can do that and not be a social worker, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of ways.
There's a lot of ways. So, and you also know what you're going to be making once you get out of, when you're a social worker.
Yeah.
And your student loans. This is going to be your cash flow for monthly. Are you going to be able to survive off of this? And that conversation becomes difficult. So I'm not saying not to be a social worker, but what I am saying is dig deeper. Ask yourself why. Why do you want to do these things? And do the research as to what you're going to be making, what the market is going to be paying you, and understand, is that going to be able to support the lifestyle you want to live? Because I know a lot of social workers, teachers that live a lifestyle that's supported by their income and they're happy. So I'm not saying that, but just be real with yourself and dig deeper.
Yeah, I think it's a big thing. I had one guy I knew in college. He was becoming a teacher, but they eventually will require you to get your master's. And teachers
should be making more.
Yeah, should be making more, 100%. And they have to be paid based off their education. So like, if you're a teacher with no experience and you have your master's, they have to pay you more, and you have no experience. So I feel like people don't understand the financial part, or they ignore it, and they're like, okay, so what if you don't get hired? Worst case scenario.
Right.
Now you got to pay off those student loans. And even if you did get a job, how long would it take?
Yeah, right.
I think a lot of people have a negative
yeah.
relationship with that money. They don't. Sometimes some people don't want to be rich,
right?
Because they think it's a bad thing.
Man,
how do you feel about that?
That's a good question. That's a good segue. One of my favorite books is called Loaded. It's the psychology of money. One of the best reads when it comes to financially, right? Speaking, because it talks about, and actually KeyBank, I believe, bought it. Anyway, but that's off topic. The point of the book was it talked about the psychology behind money, and it helped me understand that a lot of decisions I made financially was from an emotional place. And it was also from how I was raised. So to your point, it wasn't me, but there are people that think money is a bad thing. It makes you evil. And that's just based on how they were raised, what they were taught. For me, I just spend money crazy. I'm a consumer. And it's based off of some emotional stuff, some family history, some trauma, all type of stuff, really. I got to thinking about it, and it was like, wow, it makes sense. But one of the other things I really like about the book, it talked about people try to, most of the time, budget with between wants and needs. And the book argues that every want is driven by a need. Right? Deep, right? So, you would say, oh, well, a want is going out to the bar and kicking it, right? That's a want. I don't necessarily need to do that. Yes, you do. It's just not that. It's you need the social interaction. You need that. So what the book did is took it a step further and say, how can you get that social interaction in a more inexpensive way? So instead of going to the bar and spending $90 at the bar every night, maybe do a group potluck. Now we've done that. Me and my brotherhood has done that. We've said, hey, bro, we're going to get together. I bring the chicken. You bring the, we're going to get together. We're going to watch the game, and we're going to kick it. Under budget. $20 a piece. $30 a piece. And we still have that social interaction, right?
I love that, man.
So that book was dope.
Makes sense.
But psychology, you gotta question yourself, because ask yourself, why do you have the relationship you do with money? And think about your childhood. Think about everything. How do you feel about it, and why?
So let's jump back into when you started coming up. What was the first big deal, or you would say event that kind of gave you a good stepping stone? Like
Before
like
the
this is, like,
event,
big step.
because I'm always it was a vision board. I think once I did my vision board, I was like, wow, like this stuff is clear.
Yeah.
Like I get it. Like I know. Like that's half of the battle. I feel like is what's the next step? Well, I mean, well, not necessarily the next step, but what's the end goal? Because then if you have the end goal, you can then say, well, the obvious next step is here. And then the next step is here. Because as you work hard, especially in real estate and other areas, you're going to have good distractions. And what I mean by that is you're going to have opportunities that are good but are bad for your end goal.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So when I got in real estate, for example, I'm just going to stay there because I'm going to answer the question. So backing up. So after doing the vision board, the first success was buying my first duplex.
Okay.
When I did that, that was like, wow, like I did it. And then on top of that, what was really, really, really rewarding was I moved my mom in.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
she was renting at the time a smaller unit. She loved the unit. She made it her own. She'd been there for some years. She wasn't completely open to the idea at first because she loved her place. But for me, I wanted her to have more windows. Right? So I literally, that was my thought. Like I wanted her to be, because the place she had wasn't very exposed to a lot of lighting. And I'm like, and so when she moved in and to see the smile on her face, and she has a window, and sunlight gets in. And then on top of that, from a financial piece, she doesn't have to worry about a landlord anymore. Like if she, she's working towards a fixed income, where she's going to start being on a fixed income, and what a joy is it that I own the property that she's in.
Right.
She doesn't have to ever worry about missing or being on the street ever.
Man, that's awesome.
And that was like a powerful moment for me. Like, man, like, okay, this is why I do it.
Yeah.
So that was probably the biggest.
Let's break that deal down. You said $1.75.
Yeah, man, and I actually got some stuff. I got some stuff coming. And this is a perfect opportunity to kind of get out here and have this conversation. I got some stuff coming. I haven't decided if I'm gonna write a book or how I'm gonna do it. But yeah, man. So just an overview of how that worked was there's first-time home buying programs out there that will help offset your costs. And there's ways you can structure the deal where you can offset some of the costs as well.
Okay.
Again, just a lot of finance stuff. I did an FHA loan. And it's funny because I had someone tell someone that, an FHA is terrible. It's a bad loan. And it's funny because, again, real estate is what you make it. So for some people, an FHA is a bad loan.
Yeah.
But there's pros and cons with everything we do in life.
Right.
So there's some pros and then there's some cons.
Okay.
And so I did an FHA loan, which allowed me to put less down.
Yeah.
And then as a result, I had to pay PMI. PMI is private mortgage insurance, and it doesn't go towards your principal or interest. The way I explain it is basically a check that you cut every month to the bank to say, hey, I didn't have money down, and I know this is a riskier loan because I have less in it than you, right? Because I didn't put as much down.
Right.
This is my payment to you to make you feel comfortable with doing the loan. Okay. That's it. It's just basically to the company to make them feel comfortable. It doesn't go towards your principal or interest. So that's the piece where most people say FHA loans are bad.
Because your monthly payment's higher.
Your monthly payment's higher, and that PMI typically, and I've seen some legislation my dad sent me, and I haven't did any research, but from my knowledge, FHA loan, the PMI does not go away. No matter if you, so the idea is, as the equity bill, because properties go up in value in theory, and you're continuing to pay on it, so there's that equity that's created.
Right.
So just to back up, so the reason why a down payment is needed is because you have to have a certain amount of equity. We call it loan of value. You have to have a certain amount of equity in the deal where you own it for the bank to feel comfortable.
Yeah, like putting skin in the game.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's the 5 C's of credit too. But so you put the down payment to meet that obligation.
Okay.
So if you don't, you PMI, because PMI is on FHA loans and conventional loans. But what happens in the conventional loan is as you build up more equity, that PMI can go away. But an FHA loan, the PMI stays.
Okay. Okay, I see what you mean.
You know, and I think there may be some legislation. Don't yell at me, guys. Where I think there may be a change to that where it does go away. But from my understanding right now, it does not go away.
And so for everyone that doesn't know, FHA is it's a federal loan, or is it?
It's a federal.
Loan?
Yep.
Put 3.5% down.
You got it.
And so you can make it make sense by. So if you had someone else renting out the other side, covering the monthly, then it makes sense.
It does.
Doesn't matter how much that.
Because I mean, one side. I mean, I'm transparent. I think my payment at the time was about $1,200. One side of my unit was renting for, was it $950? I think technically, and I think he was giving me $50 more for water because I pay water quarterly. Okay. But from a cash flow perspective, I was receiving $1,000 every month, and you know, only paying $1,200 in mortgage payment, and that's with PMI as well. And you know, in theory, eventually, you know, I would rent the other side for another $1,000, so then I would be getting $2,000, and my mortgage is only $1,200.
Yeah, and cash flowing.
Cash flowing. Now, that's net. I say that's gross cash flow. That's on paper cash flow.
Yeah, but
it's really lower than that because I have a template that kind of breaks down. You gotta take out for your capital expenditures. So if you want to put a fence in, you know, that may cost something, and you know, you break that down per month. So that takes away from your payment. Maintenance, toilet breaks, you got to fix it. Vacancy. So luckily I haven't had any vacancies, but that does happen, and you lose income from that month by month. You know, you don't have anyone renting. So you know. So net cash flow is more $250, $300, and it doesn't seem like much, but you know, I only have one property. So just imagine if you're looking at a property where you know you own 10 of them. So now that's $2,000, $3,000, and that's after capital expenditures, after all the taxes, everything you can think of is in there. So not bad.
All right, so you got that first duplex. And first of all, that's huge. That's where I want to be.
So we got some more talking to do.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yep.
Man, yeah, I got a lot of things I need to work on, but I'm also I'm just in that space right now, trying to look for that duplex, just trying to make it make sense, and trying to take care of my family and kill those expenses. So what are you working on right now?
Man, it's amazing how I call it conditioning. You know, I didn't know what hard work really meant until, I got a career. I'm trying to do my duplex stuff because I had to go through the tax abatement process, which lowered my tax obligation. I'm moving up with W-2 income. What that also means, I'm moving up with responsibilities, and that's becoming harder. And I work hard. My work ethic means a lot to me. So beyond what they're paying me, I want to make sure I'm providing value because that's just who I am. So I don't slack on my day job because I'm working on other stuff. Because I have an obligation. I signed and said I'm going to do this work, so I'm going to do it. So that, to kind of balance it all out, I have 5 daily habits, and I don't always get to them. But, I wake up early, try to. Again, I always don't get to it. I try to spend 1 hour working on my own business. So no matter how busy my W-2 income is, when it comes down to, my business, I got to spend an hour there. I have to read for 30 minutes. Okay. Because a lot of the ideology, as I mentioned, the Loaded Book and Cal Newport, The Millionaire Next Door, I could keep going, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Ego is the Enemy. A lot of the who I am and what I believe in today has been formed from books I've read. Okay. So, every time I read something, I learn something new that's very helpful into just life, not just only real estate, ABCs, or investment real estate. And there's a lot, so I try to read. I know that's important, so I try to continue to read and stretch. I try to stretch every day, physically just being in a position where I'm comfortable and I'm ready for the day. And I also try to do one thing thoughtful for someone else. You're right, because we can
Yeah,
kind
I
of
love
become consumed with our own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe in, like, if I give to the universe, hopefully the universe gives back to me type thing. So I try to do one thing thoughtful for someone. It doesn't always have to be grand. It could just be, hey, you look nice today. I'm thankful for you today. So words of encouragement type stuff, or flowers from my lady or something like that.
Yeah.
So just kind of be thoughtful there. So to answer your question, I just thought about that because you talked about how you're managing that. It's hard. So don't be down on yourself because you're not getting stuff done and you're not moving as long as fast as you can.
Right.
Just kind of decide. I came to the author of this book. He called them levers. What can you do every day to lever for success? If you did one thing in a day to make you successful, like you said, duplex, what could be that one thing you could do to get you to ready to buy a duplex? Maybe it's doing research. Maybe you're going to spend 30 minutes researching what a duplex, how to buy a duplex, whatever it is. Then the next step, maybe, interview 2 or 3 agents, right? So, like, having that levers is important to, getting to a place where you're being productive. Is kind of what I'm trying to say. What I'm working on now, man, is really becoming a better man and becoming a better for my family. Like, I have a family now. So now it's not just me and what I want to do as far as financially. I have to be more emotionally intelligent. That's another book. Emotional Intelligence is a great book. I have to be emotionally available for my significant other because she's going through stuff herself. So I have to be thoughtful of that. So that's number one for me right now is being a better man, right? Becoming, again, more valuable in my career. I'm in a position where I can really make a name for myself and really make, the future and the wealth for my family different, in the space I'm working.
Yeah.
And I'm with a group of guys and ladies that mean business. They're serious, and I'm all in. So that, that's what I'm focused on now. Then I'm looking on buying another duplex. Why not, right? The income makes sense. The cash flow rather makes sense. And we're in a place where we're in an economic market where inflation is happening rapidly. So, like, things are just increasing in value. And actually what I'm working on now is a refi. I'm doing a cash out refi.
Okay.
So going back to strategy, I told my brother, I was like, bro, my property appraised for, I'm just transparent, $300,000. My property appraised for $300,000.
What did you buy it for?
Bought it for $175, $180 or something like that. And I bought it in 19.
Okay.
Appraised for $300,000. So then my brother, he was like, he chuckled. He was like, man, you gonna sell? you gonna sell? You gonna sell? And I thought about it. I would lie to you if I didn't think about it. But my brother is a flipper. He's in real estate. He's more focused, and his dad is more focused on the flipping side, and it works for them. That's what they like, and they're doing good at it. He's always done good at it. But for me, that requires me to be active again, because I sell it. I put the $100,000 in my pocket. Now what? Right? Inflation is happening again. So the cash is losing value by sitting in my savings account because there's not a high interest savings account anywhere.
Right.
I don't like stock market. Just personally, me again. So what do? Go try to buy another duplex? Well, guess what? I'm gonna be paying $300,000 for it.
Right.
So my $100,000 is going right back into the market.
Right.
And I'm losing it again if I try to buy another one. So, what can you do? You can do a cash out refi where I'm taking a part of that money.
Okay.
Right? I'm not taking all of that $100,000, but I'm gonna take a part of it, and then I'm gonna use it. In a disclaimer, after I do my refi, I have to live in it for a year, so I will be living in it for a year. Just a little disclaimer, but after that year, I take that money and then go buy another duplex.
Do it again. Right?
And really, the people ask, well, properties are high right now. Yeah, true.
Right.
But if it makes sense from a cash flow perspective, because you're buying income properties, so it doesn't matter it does matter, because you get to a point where the cash flow won't make sense if the price point is too high. And typically they say 1%. So like if a duplex, let's say, or any property is $200,000, the common law is 1% of that $200,000 you have to receive in rents for it to make sense. So in that case, it would be $2,000 a month you would have to get out of that property for it to make sense.
Okay. So that's a general rule. That's how you look fast. That's how you do your fast research.
That's how I do my fast by saying I'm not gonna look at it. But then you're right. Once I am looking at it, I look at it in more details. Have the roof been replaced? Have the mechanicals been replaced?
Right.
Is it in a flood zone? Well, we don't have those much, but what does the basement look like as far as foundation? Some of those big items you don't want to, you want to avoid having to come out for. But yeah, I'm working on that. I'm working on career, another duplex, becoming a better man, and working on my personal side of things.
Okay, dope. So where do you see yourself 5 years from now then?
That's a really good question. I'm actually ending my 5 years that I set before, right?
Okay.
And so I haven't really put it on paper. But I guess I will share what it was before. It was a certain amount of money in my bank account, which I'm there. My net worth, I'm there. And actually, it was a kid. I wanted to have a kid, and that's there. And Marriott was there too. And I'm working on that. That. But that was there, out of debt, because at the time I was in debt. So I wanted to be completely consumer debt free, which I am. I drive a 03 Ranger, and I'm so happy and proud of my Ranger because it symbolizes the sacrifice and the commitment to living and getting to a financial place where I'm free. I can come and go as I want. If I want to take Muay Thai, I can do that. I can afford it. I can do it. I don't have to think about it. I have the disposable income to really do anything I want.
And make that choice.
Yeah. I'm okay with getting in my Ford Ranger and driving off.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah, I remember that when when you were training a lot. I remember just seeing your Ford Ranger. I would know because I know what that means. Someone else might be like, "Oh, that's dope. It's a reliable car, but it's not that nice." Whatever,
Right.
But to me, I'm like, I was jealous. I was like, I kind of wish I had a Ford Ranger. Something just
an everyday
reliable.
beater, man.
Yeah.
It starts every day. I haven't had an issue. I tow things. It makes stuff. I pick up furniture. I do things. I move. And the kids like it too because it has the door where it opens like a suicide, so they have fun.
Yeah.
And they have like a little small seat, so they play
back.
with the windows and stuff. The kids love it. I don't have a car payment, man. I can leverage my personal income to do other things. $300 what I was paying for that Silverado, which isn't bad. I was leasing it, and when you look at DTI, debt to income ratio, what they use to determine how much you can afford on the loan. Like that $300 is a lot. That could be 20 to 30,000.
Like they take that by like the yearly amount, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, how much you're paying. Well, I think they try to break it down monthly.
Okay.
To see your monthly expenses versus your monthly income.
Okay.
How much you can afford for a house. So for example, this refi I'm doing.
Right.
I'm increasing my loan to I think 225 or something like that. So if I did not have the DTI, the debt to income ratio, if that wasn't right, I could have missed an opportunity to take out cash because I was driving a new car. Now I'm getting to a point where my W2 income is increasing, so I have more flexibility, so I can go get a Hellcat. I can go do all those things, but not yet.
Yeah.
I'm cool right now.
You have the option.
I got the option.
Choose not to.
Choose not to.
I like that.
Financial freedom.
So, what is last thing? We're gonna wrap it up with this one, but what is one piece of advice you would give to someone who is where you were 5-10 years ago, or just someone trying to level up?
Yeah, man. I'm sorry, I can't just give one piece of advice.
Okay.
I'm gonna give a few.
It's all right.
So the first thing is the why.
Okay.
I would encourage you to dig deeper than I'm doing it for my kids. I'm doing it to chase a bag. What does that mean to you, though? Like, for real, like, what does it really mean to you? Like, you have to have a conversation with yourself. If you're doing it for your son, what does that mean? What do you want to give your son? Or what do you want to teach your son? Because that sometimes is more important, right? Because I'm going to lead by example. When my son sees me, he's going to see me in a position of power and flexibility. I'm going to be to a place where I can walk out of my job if I needed to. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to take him to show him things and give back and make an impact. Like, I'm gonna teach him through that. That's what I'm gonna give my son, right? Because that's more valuable than gifts, because he's gonna be able to manage life by himself by learning it. Because my dad taught me things, and
Right.
OGs taught me things that I take with me today.
Right.
So that's the why. That's the biggest piece.
Real quick, how did you know when you knew? Like
The lowest low. You know, being in that position of total reflection made me really think about, okay, this sucks. This hurts.
Yeah.
Now what? And that now what thought led to, okay, and learning. That would be my second point. The why and learning.
Okay.
So I listen to a lot of podcasts. You know, the plug. Listen to a lot of books. I read a lot of books. And I just surrounded myself by people who were doing awesome stuff. Like one of my mentors, he was from the retail space and banking. A lot of people were kind of, I wouldn't say intimidated, but he kind of came off like a jerk. He is a jerk.
Yeah.
I tell him a jerk. He's a jerk all the time. But he was really good. So I said, hey, Josh, can you sit down with me for lunch, man? I don't know what I got going on. I just know I need some help. Sure. Sat down with me, was a jerk to my face and told me how terrible a job I was doing. And then he told me what I needed to do to get out of it. He was the one to help me rearrange my student debt, because there's a thing you can get your student debt rearranged.
Okay.
He gave me a TED Talk video of the ideal day of, and from there I just built on it, man. Laws of attraction. When you decide that you want a certain thing or lifestyle, like stuff just start happening. Like just stuff I would just see stuff and it would just make sense, right? So like the why, and then learning, and then the goals, but be detailed, smart goals. You know, what they say, specific, measurable, attainable, whatever, and timeline.
Yeah.
I put those goals in place, and then I've made daily habits from those goals. So, and enjoy the journey, man, because that's a big piece too. Because you know, again, life is so fragile, man. Like I've witnessed death, and people think they had the time in the world, and just J. Cole, there's no such thing as a life that's better than yours type idea. You may not be where you want to be, and that's fine. Continue to work to get there.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, appreciate coming home to a warm bed, a meal. My son is healthy.
That's a big one, and that's simple, but that's a big one.
You know what I mean? So
I think a lot of people miss out on that one. That one kind of goes over their head because they hear the marathon. They hear Nip talking about all that stuff, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, just keep grinding, like make it hard." Like, but I think I've been reading this book. It's called The Power of Now, and
to add to my list.
There's no past and future. It's just what you do now. So and I had this feeling the other day. I didn't know how to describe it until I read this book. But I would tell my clients when I run, just pay attention to things around you, the leaves, the grass, the air, what it feels like outside. It happened for me one day, and things just got brighter. It's like everyone just turned up the color in the room.
Wow.
It was crazy. And it was a temporary moment because it comes and goes, but you have to become a master of it. But really enjoying the process and being at peace.
Man. Yeah. Because we expire soon. Not soon. Hopefully, we expire at some point. Like it's a way to end the podcast. It's all tie. But no, I mean, eventually. Yeah. So like, you just gotta my son is not going to be a couple weeks ever again. So being there. My lady wanted me to take more leave time, but I did take some time to be there for that process because I didn't want to miss it because it's important, and we continue to strive and want to do things, but we just certainly got to be in the moment and enjoy where we are now. Okay. So.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you coming in and dropping all that knowledge. Let them know where they can follow you at.
Rich Intentions, Rich_Intentions. That's my Instagram handle. Okay. I work for KeyBank, so you can find me there. If you have any business questions, struggling with anything, just call any key bank and find me. Or no, don't do that actually, because I don't want to get on anyone else. Don't do that. Just follow me on, give me on Instagram, and we can connect that way. So yeah, and thank you for having me. And this is great because again, I listen to podcasts myself. So hopefully, I said a lot of stuff. I don't know. Hopefully it makes sense, but hopefully someone can learn from it and take from it and be a piece to their journey. And the fact that you're taking your time out, again, away from your family, doing this for people means a lot. And it and I envy that because I want to get to a place where I'm giving back more. So thank you for allowing me to do that in this, short, video here. But, I myself look forward to, doing more of that because it's important.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, well, I've got to pay some bills real quick. So if y'all are in Columbus, Ohio, and y'all have a desire to just be better, do more, and try and learn a new skill, stop by Self-Made Training Facility in Hilliard. I run a Muay Thai training program. I limit it to a class size of 8, so it's super focused training. At this point, I can guarantee your success. I'll give you your money back if you don't become better in 3 months. All right. Instagram handle is Coach Drew 88. You can follow me, message me, and number. Give it out real quick. So y'all can call, text.
You don't rock hard.
I'm not gonna give them the business number.
Oh, okay.
614-344-1595. All right. Well, I appreciate y'all's time. End of the podcast. Peace out.